Welcome to the Music Journal Podcast, where we talk about the hottest things happening in music right now, and also how you can apply it if you're an aspiring producer or musician yourself. I'm your host, Wes Yee. I'm a producer, artist, and educator, and I'm stoked to be chatting with you. Let's make history. All right, welcome to another edition of the Music Journal Podcast. Today, we actually have a very special guest. This is somebody I've known for an incredibly long time. I think I met him in 9th grade. I'm 24 years old right now, old as fuck, so we're both kind of on that boat. But I grew up playing music with this guy, and we still play music together sometimes, and now I'm proud to say that he's my friend and an amazing guitar builder.
Thank
Julian.
you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you for having me. Me and Wes, we met in sexual education in freshman year of high school.
Should we actually start with that? Do you want to tell the story of how we met?
Yeah.
From your perspective?
So I was sitting in the back of the classroom, and he walked in, and he's like, Wes is very like a very outgoing person, and his personality knows no bounds. So he walks into the room, and it's just like, hey, is this the right class? And I was just like, oh God. This dude is fucking awful, and I love him. He was just like the most like nonchalant, just like, if this isn't the right room, I don't give a shit. I'm going to leave.
Is that what happened? Dude, this was the first day of high school, just for the record. I was probably nervous because I'd never been to high school before, and I just wanted to make sure I was in the right place. It seems like a pretty
standard thing.
Yeah, it seems pretty natural, but yeah, Julian did not like me when I first stepped into that classroom. But you know what's crazy is Julian was even crazier than I was in that classroom. We just got into shenanigans the whole time. We had a weird teacher and just did dumb shit.
We just like passed like stupid notes and shit. That class was a joke. Our teacher would just be like, in between like every other word. He'd just be like, okay. Okay, it was like Mr. Mackey from South Park.
Yeah,
like,
dude was a
incarnate.
fucking loon. But his son was a professional snowboarder, wasn't he? Wasn't he on Burton or something?
Yeah,
something wild like that.
He was.
Yeah, Julian and I have gotten into a lot of shit. Actually, one time, Julian and I went all the way to California to visit another really close friend of ours. And we went on kind of like a skate trip / just hang out with our friend. Yeah. And one day in the trip, we snuck into this reservoir, and we're smoking weed and we're drinking.
We're gonna start a fire too.
Yeah, we're gonna start a fire. We were just doing all this dumb shit, and we trespassed too because there was a big like "Do Not Enter" sign right in front of the reservoir. But obviously, being the dumb like 18-year-old kids that we were, we went. And we see these cops coming, and we panicked. We were like, shit, the fucking cops are here. We definitely shouldn't be here. But then the cops drove away. We should have taken that as our cue to dip. But what we did instead is we stayed. We were like, oh, we're good. They just
we were just like looking at looking at them from like across like the Bay Area.
Yeah,
we were just like, all right, we'll be okay if they just like drive away. We were there for like 20 more minutes, and then
rest assured they did give a shit. They parked around the corner, came out, and they were like, we're taking names. So they go down the entire line. They take everybody's name. I remember I was a little bit high, so I panicked when they got to me, and they were like, what's your name? And I just froze up, and I was like, Jun Chung. And they were like, what's your address? And in my head I was like, shit, I just lied to this cop. I might as well just lie again. So I gave him an address that wasn't my address at the time, and they took a photo of me with my tattoo and everything, and I got off scot-free. Did you end up having to do...
I had to do community service.
You did community service?
Yeah.
Dude, fuck that.
It was pretty terrible. It was just like clipping stuff off of like a fence in the center of town. But I remember,
landscaping.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
it was like everybody else got out of it. I remember like one of our other friends that moved to the windy city of Canada.
It's pretty windy over there.
It's pretty windy. He got off, and friggin' like none of us, everybody except me had got off. Friggin'.
I'm sure we'll get into.
So it's just like. Great.
We're going to get into plenty of shenanigans on this episode, I'm pretty sure. But, hey, man, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do?
My name is Julian Green. I'm 24 years old. I've played guitar since I was like 8, and then before that I played drums. Played saxophone for a little while too, but all I could play was the Simpsons theme. And then I recently graduated from the Gallup School of Luthery in Big Rapids, Michigan. Ooh. And I build guitars. I'm proud to say that I am a luthier, a practicing luthier. And yeah, that's my modus operandi.
Could you explain what a luthier is to just people who might not know?
Yeah, so a luthier basically just builds guitars, repairs them. There's like a bunch of different kinds of guitars. There's the regular acoustic guitar, jazz arch tops, and then electric guitars. Basically, I just like repair and fix all of them. I can make custom guitars and throw together parts and make the pictures in my head become a reality.
Julian's being really modest right now. He's a beast. He's made some really beautiful guitars, and I've had
they weren't my designs, so it's just like
come on, give yourself some credit, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
Some really beautiful guitars. They sounded amazing, and I had the incredible fortune of getting to play one for a very extended period of time, and it was fucking sick, dude. I loved every second of it. So that's a little bit about what you do. But what's actually crazy is Julian and I actually 2 years ago we started a rap group together. So in addition to playing guitar and building guitars, Julian's actually a rapper as well. We didn't get that far with that project, but you know, I think we could have. What do you think?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was kind of like a weird transitional time. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, and then you were doing your own thing. There was a relationship that sparked out of me going over to his apartment, and I ended up dating the girl that was in the apartment that he was living in, and that was a Titanic moment.
Oh yeah, you dated one of my roommates.
Yeah.
That roommate ended up suing me at some point. I have a song. Ironically, she sued me for her being fat. I have a song about it. Speaking of rap stuff, but this is under my own name and my solo project. I want to get into more conversation about that at one point, but just really quick before we do that, do you have a crazy story about when you were learning how to build guitars or anything you could share?
We got into a couple of random things. It didn't really have to do. Oh, actually, no. So I guess the double neck Gibson that Slash plays that looks like Jimmy Page's guitar was at the school that I went to, and I don't know which instructor it was, but they didn't like Slash. So somebody rubbed their balls on his double neck.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
are you serious? One of the students?
No, one of the instructors. And I just thought that was kind of a funny thing.
That's insane.
But we built a tree house and we got into a car rollover.
Jesus
and that was our time there. It was pretty crazy.
Go into detail about that story.
Well, the tree house I didn't start, but some other kids had started it, and then I helped them like finish building it. And then the kids that started it left. And these hunters showed up at one point. And they were like, "Hey, did you guys build this tree fort in this 200-year-old oak tree?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, what were you thinking?" And we were just like, well, "What else were we gonna do in the middle of the summer? It's a 200-year-old oak tree, and there's nothing to do. We're in the middle of fucking Michigan.
Treehouse sounds dope.
Yeah, we could go and like
treehouse.
Yeah, just like steal an Amish like cart and go and bat mailboxes. But we weren't gonna do that. But so that they showed up and they were just like, "Yeah, you can't do that." Blah blah blah. And we were like, "Well, we'll take it down." And they were like, "Nah, we'll just leave it. You can have the tools back, but just leave it." We basically built them a hunting blind, and that was like it was a really nice treehouse too. I still got a picture of it. That's my Instagram is Ma Where's the Pizza. If you want to follow me, shameless name drop.
No, it's all good. And hey, listeners, if you ever want to go into a treehouse and rub your balls on Slash's guitar, go to Guitar Building School. That's the place where you could do that. Would you ever rub your genitals on an instrument that was played by a musician you don't like? Be honest.
Probably. If I was drunk enough, it'd be kind of funny.
It'd be kind of funny. So did he just do it in front of you? Like he just whipped out his package?
I wasn't there. Okay.
It
was just like a story that they had told us. Like I don't know which instructor it was, but they were just like, "Yeah, somebody rubbed their nuts on Slash's guitar," and I was just like, "Oh, that's lit."
Oh my god,
that's so dope.
That's insane. And you know that after people heard that story and word kind of got around, they were just going around rubbing their balls on other guitars and shit too.
Probably.
Maybe even
I don't
your
think
guitar.
So, but
well, you think you know a guy until you find out they rub their balls on things.
Isn't that what we all do? Isn't that just like the male psyche?
Yeah, I don't talk about where I rub my balls, man. Hey, so another random question just before we jump into the musical topic of the day. What's something about you that people wouldn't guess just by looking at you? You know, first impression. What's something someone might not know?
I don't know.
Dive deep into this one, man.
I don't know. I'm pretty like normal. I just like stay home, come back from work. I work on a junk truck right now. I'm trying to start my business, but I don't know. I get back from work and go on YouTube and play guitar, and that's about it. I don't know. It's like the normal day to day of trying to make ends meet and friggin' figure out the next 5-year span of what I'm gonna do. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing.
Julian's being modest again. My father even knows him and has known him for a really long time and thinks this guy's like God. He thinks he's the coolest dude, and he's right. But even beyond just kind of that first impression, Julian's just a really great dude, really good dude to work with. And if you ever need someone to build a guitar, this is your guy, and he'll go out of his way to make sure that it's really amazing.
Yeah, I gotta start the business. Once the business is started, I'll let you know what the name of the company is, and I will get you building a guitar. I will get you a guitar built.
Yeah, dope. Yes. Well, I'm looking forward to that day, man.
It's gonna be good.
So one thing that I think is kind of wild is, I grew up playing classical piano, and I learned a lot of music theory just kind of growing up before we even met. Mm-hmm. So by the time we had met, I already kind of had that knowledge. But what's crazy is I always thought that you, not having the same background as me, were just such a creative just spirit, and the music that you made came from such a more honest place, I feel like. Ooh. Because you didn't know the music theory. Do you think that not knowing that has helped you kind of develop your sound and kind of do what you do?
I think it's a difference between like things that we were brought up on, because when I was younger, like I used to listen to a lot of like Aerosmith and stuff like that, and a lot of like blues bass guitar, and I took lessons for a short amount of time, but I never learned theory or understood theory. Like I don't know chords. I know like some of the notes and stuff. Like I can like E, A, D, G, B, E and that stuff. But the like knowing chord progressions and stuff, I don't know. I can play the blues scale. The blues scale I know, but most of it's just like, for me, just like, there was a quote that I saw today. I think it was like Buddy Guy or somebody was just like, it's like a puzzle. Like what making a blues solo is like fitting together pieces of a puzzle. Maybe it was Clapton, I'm not sure, but the basis of it is just kind of like just to play from your heart. And I mean that's the same thing with jazz. Jazz is like very it's skill based. You can still play jazz and not know theory, and you just know if you know the scales and stuff. But I feel like neither is bad. Like being able to play something without the knowledge of theory is, you can make something that with the knowledge of theory that sounds just as good as something that is made without the knowledge of theory.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I've actually heard that puzzle analogy before. You know Russ, the rapper? Mm. He has that song like what they want, what they want, what they want.
Yeah, I've heard it.
Dollar signs, yeah, no. I watched an interview of him recently, and he said the exact same thing. He said making a song is just like a puzzle, and you have to figure out which pieces fit. Mm. I feel like knowing music theory, just having learned so much of it, and kind of having learned so much of it before I started trying to be creative with my music production, it's like making a puzzle, but you have less pieces to work with. Does that make sense? Because you start thinking, oh, I only know that this chord works with this chord, so I only have these two pieces. Whereas if you just kind of broaden your horizon and don't know any music theory whatsoever, you just have all these pieces and you can make something really special with it, I think.
Yeah, but it's like if you know like D sus 9 or whatever, and then just like friggin' you can make a different chord theory. There's that's the thing, is that there's the box of like 1, 4, 5 in a certain key, and then it's like, go to the 2 chord, go to the 5 chord, go to the 4 chord. And it's like, it's easy enough if you have that knowledge, I feel like, to kind of rearrange the things that are in it and kind of like break the paradigm of like what is not musically possible, but just like normally isn't played. Like there's like all the pop songs that are like the same 3 chords. Like you could have something that like the Melvins is just like, really weird sounds and stuff, and like Sonic Youth is all just like odd tuned guitars and stuff like that. It's just like there's different ways of being creative and artistic, and I think like having a broad spectrum of different different pieces. If you have all of those pieces, it's kind of like you have a sheet that you can cut pieces out of and just kind of like create a different picture.
Totally. Tools in your toolbox, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So out of curiosity, how do you start making your songs? Like what's your process typically?
Riffs. I play like a lot of just random stuff. I have a loop pedal, and I'll play like, it's usually like jazz and just open chords and stuff. And I'll come up with a riff, and then like pitch shift the guitar and add a bass line, and then just like create something like that. I have a SoundCloud called Hermit 3, and there's 2 songs on there that I made in one. One of them was one take. It was just guitar, and it was like the guitar and delay, and that was just a single take. And then the other one was guitar and bass and drums, and I did a single take.
You played all of them?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, it was a single take of guitar, and that was literally just like this really simple like blues open chord progression kind of thing. And I played that, and then just did the solo over it. It was like 8 minutes long, and then I did the solo, and then I did the bass, and then I played the drums, and it was just like locking into the groove of like what the chord progression was, and then the like adding in the solos and all of the rest of that stuff. It ended up working pretty well, and it's cool because when I listen to it, there's certain times where like things are kind of off, and it gives it its own weird feel. It's like it becomes like a living, breathing thing when you listen to it.
So I've actually heard it before. You put it out kind of a while ago, and I remember hearing it, and I remember thinking like, damn, this is pretty dope. This is like something I would never have thought to put out. And I personally think that knowing less music theory will actually help you as an artist, because that's how you make something that just hasn't been made before. Because if you think about what music theory is, it's really just dissecting what people were doing before that worked, and that's stuff that was created from them not knowing the music theory. The music theory came after people being creative, so I think almost not knowing any is actually beneficial to an artist and kind of helps them to be creative. And it wasn't actually until I picked up a guitar that I kind of found that for myself, because I've been so used to playing keyboard and piano and knowing where the chords are, and my fingers muscle memory knew where to go or where they wanted to go. So as soon as I picked up a guitar and I didn't know the neck, I felt so much more free and liberated personally.
It's like a new.
Do you kind of agree with that, or
the final frontier? Yeah. The Oh shit! What did you just say? Oh no! Like it's like, I guess like more creative, like the ability to be more creative.
Yeah.
Because you don't have those like the certain constructs.
Like Chris Martin from Coldplay. I almost said Pro Tools because I'm using Pro Tools to record this. Chris Martin from Coldplay doesn't know any music theory, and he writes these crazy piano riffs that I would have never thought to come up with. So I think it's a really amazing thing personally.
Paul from the Beatles, I don't think could read music and knew any theory.
Yeah, that's true too. There's a lot of examples.
Yeah. The one thing I do find a lot of the times is like not knowing any music theory. I can come up with I can think of things and try and play them out by ear, and that sometimes works. But a lot of the time, like it'll be like a riff that sounds like something else, and then it's just kind of like intellectual property is theft is a quote that I've heard before, where it's like there's nothing new created. It's all just kind of like rehashes of other things, and it's like you have to get really good at figuring out what sounds like the thing that you're going for, but not the exact same thing. It's like creating a replica, but creating an original.
Have you ever read the book Steal Like an Artist or heard of it?
No, but I
Okay.
like that. I like that quote.
So
or
the quote,
the name of the book.
Yeah. The main quote from it. I haven't actually read it either, but I know the premise of it. And just a great quote that I've heard in general is good artists borrow, great artists steal. You ever heard that?
I have heard that.
So that's kind of goes back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
And it's totally true, steal, but I don't even think it's possible to steal someone else's work exactly, because it's their work and it's their sound, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it comes from your personality. So if I took the same chord progression as, say, like the Chainsmokers, they use the same 3 chords for every fucking song, and I took those 3 chords and made a song out of it, and I quote unquote stole it, it still wouldn't come out the same as a Chainsmokers song, because our experiences are much different, and I think our ideals are much different as well.
Yeah, creating things, I mean, like, it's your personality when you create something that ends up being what the thing is that you're creating. It's like you can learn how to play a scale, but you'll never, like, you can listen to a bunch of different guitarists and then, like, learn the scales that they play, but you won't be able to play the scale the exact same way, because you're not you're not in, like, you're not, like, thinking which notes they're going to use, or, like, what flavors or styles of what sounds they're going for. Like, everybody has, like, different sounds in their head, and then it's just, like, trying to process what's in your head and, like, getting it into the instrument and then out into the ether.
So, out of curiosity, if you could go back and potentially learn more music theory, would you choose to do that, or would you choose to just not change anything and be exactly where you are?
I think I would maybe learn some theory. I like where I am, and that's the thing, is, like, from the little bit of theory that I've found, like, memes where it's just, like, this is, like, the scale of music, and it'll have, like, E to whatever, and it's, like, a bunch of different colors and, like, the cycle of frequencies and stuff. And when you look at that and you look at all the chords, it's like there's not very much, like, all the modes, like, there's 7 different modes, and then, like, all of that stuff, like, there's not a ton of different things
That's true
to learn.
Yeah.
Like, there's only a certain amount of variables, and when it's kind of where things are now technologically, it's just, like, you can use pedals and stuff to create a different sound, but the theory of it, I guess, like, there's a lot of really good guitar players that are very good at theory, but they sound like a bunch of other guitarists.
Yeah,
but it's like
that's absolutely right.
For every really good blues player, there's probably, like, a bunch of other really good blues players that sound just like them, or, like, it's all just kind of like a rehash. But there are, like, I don't know.
Yo, and for the
Play
listeners,
what's in your heart.
For the listeners, another note: when Julian and I were in high school, Julian was in a rock band called Don't Look Back, or DLB, and these guys were fucking, like, the fucking rock stars of our
assholes.
high school.
It was so funny.
Everybody thought they were, like, the next fucking thing, like, amazing players, and just fucking pussy magnets, basically.
We were such douchebags. We were like the worst. We were like the least musically inclined kids in the school.
Well, no, because you guys didn't know music theory is what I was going to kind of get at. But at the same time, you guys were creating more than anybody else was creating. You want to talk about, all the. I was kind of, like, in the jazz realm of my high school. I was kind of within that bubble, but we weren't making records. You know what I mean? We were just playing jazz.
Yeah,
you guys were making recordings and writing original songs and performing them in front of the entire school and doing these cool shows and shit.
Yeah, we played the pep rally. We did a couple of things. It wasn't as focused as a lot of the other stuff. There were a bunch of other bands in the school that were pretty good, but we were just, like,
give yourself a little more credit, man.
It was good.
In high school, I was the band geek. Julian was the fucking rock star.
I was the rock star. Yeah, I was, like, the brain dead rock star.
Nah, dude, no way, man.
The way I picked up girls was just by, like, yelling and flailing my arms and making, like, stupid noises.
Well, of our friend group, Julian was actually the first to lose his virginity. So,
I was.
Not that it matters at all or anything, but might as well just throw that fun fact out there, right?
Hey, ladies.
Shenanigans.
Hey, ladies.
He's single right now.
I am single.
And he builds guitars.
I do. So if you're a female that plays guitars, let me know. I'll build you a guitar.
He likes bassists and long walks on the beach and
I like
and custom amps.
Yeah. And
redheads.
I like body hair. If you have
lots of it. Plenty of it.
Yeah.
And pink salt water.
Yes. Pink Himalayan salt water. I'll fix your chakras real nice. I'll get your chakras aligned.
We weren't even talking about pussy. Pink salt water is a fucking is a real thing that I'm actually drinking every single morning thanks to this dude. You can buy it at Whole Foods is where I got it.
But, I got him into it. It's like
good. A liquid cleanser is kind of how I describe it.
Yeah,
right?
there's this dude called Dr. Sebi who like cured AIDS and a bunch of other diseases. And the conspiracy is that the government killed him because he created the cure for AIDS and cancer and all this stuff, and he like cured a bunch of AIDS patients. And his mom was just like, oh yeah, like they're gonna get you because you've cured all these people. And then I think after that he passed. But the what it does is it just like cleans your blood and balances your pH because the system can't create disease, and disease can't live in your body in an alkaline environment. But in an acidic environment, if you drink like a ton of beer and drink a lot of cigarettes, if you drink a lot of beer and smoke a lot of cigarettes and do that stuff and eat fast food, then your body is more acidic. But if you eat alkaline, it clears out your body and clears out the mucus and stuff. The Himalayan pink salt's crazy. Like the first day that I had it cleared my lungs out. I had a ton of energy, and I shit myself because it's just like salt water, but it's good. It keeps me going.
Well, listeners, if you've been an avid, addicted cigarette drinker for a long time, then go get yourself some pink salt and put it in some water and drink that. Julian, we're almost out of time. I want to ask you one more question before we part ways, if that's cool.
Ask away.
All right. If you had unlimited money, no strings attached, what would you do and why? It's kind of unrelated, but I ask it on every episode.
I would, I'd probably buy a house in the middle of nowhere and just like build guitars and like talk to my friends every once in a while and like fly out and see them, and then just kind of like
be specific. Where in the middle of nowhere? Like what color's the house?
I don't know. Let's see. Probably New Zealand. I'd probably like want to live like a hobbit. That'd be kind of dope. I would create a house underneath the ground, or like some weird house in the middle of like nowhere, and then just live in that house and build guitars and have like a
build guitars for yourself or for other people?
For other people. Yeah, like no, building like I'd start a company because I'd have to have some sort of revenue to do that. But just
unlimited money, dog.
Oh, truth. Yeah, no, I'd probably just make guitars and like fuck around and make music, travel the world, see what there is. I'd get a submarine. I'd get a submarine and just like
there's a first.
Yeah, go and like just like explore the underwater. There's like crazy shit that's underwater that we just like don't know is there. Yeah. Try and find just spend the rest of my life trying to find the Loch Ness Monster. That's what I do.
Amazing. Well, hey man, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you coming out here. Me. We're about to go party. Before we do that, do you want to give the listeners just a place where they can find you or contact you if they want a guitar or anything?
At Ma Where's the Pizza on Instagram. At this point, it's the 4th of May, 2018. At this point, like I don't have the resources to start building guitars, but by the end of the year, I should. So if you hear this before or after the year 2018, send me a message anyway because we can start throwing together some designs, and I can let you know, we can figure some stuff out and then get the ball rolling, and it'll be great.
Dope. All right. So that'll wrap up today's episode. You're not leaving, but I'm going to stop recording this now. So right. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Music Journal. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got a lot out of it. If you want to know more about me and what I do, I just put out a personal EP on Spotify. You can go to bit.ly/Wes Yee Spotify. And if you want to know more about music production, I teach an online course about it too. Just shoot an email to wes@homestudiohits.com and I'll send you an application. Just for filling out the application, I'll send you a free sample pack of sounds I use to make the instrumental you're listening to and more. All these links will be available in the show notes, so you can check them out there. And while you're there, if you feel inclined to rate this show 5 stars, that would really help me out. Other than that, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks again. Peace.